cross-country assistant coach, Matthew Fayers. Coach Gannon's getting the course ready. Matt, you got a home race on Friday. You get ready for it. Give us a kind of preview of that event.
Yeah, really excited to have our student athletes have the opportunity to compete at home. I think anytime you have an opportunity to compete at home, it's a big thing. And for us in our sport, it's not something we've historically had the opportunity to do. This is actually going to be only the second time we've competed at this course, the Platte River Rumble. And last year it was a phenomenal event, and we're looking to expand on that, make it an even better race this time around, with whether that's from a team standing finish or just the course itself. Some small improvements we've seen on the course, slightly different, so we'll see whether it's as quick as last year. Last year, Tommy Ward set the school record, so remains to be seen if that will be the case this year. In addition, one of the factors that might influence the race a little bit is weather. We haven't had to deal with that a whole lot this year, apart from a little bit of warm weather. So a little bit of rain on Thursday, a little bit of rain on Friday. So it's going to be interesting to see how the course holds up. But we're excited to compete. We're going to get after it. I think our men have a really good shot at finishing first or second, to be honest, and the women have a really good opportunity to finish in the top three. And it's going to be a really big boost to those runners, just from a confidence standpoint, to be that competitive in a race like this. And it's going to set us up for our final two races in the championship season, conference and regionals coming up. So I think the small atmosphere, 120 less runners, it's going to really suit the mindset heading into that conference championship, which, again, we're competing against 10, 11 teams in that competition.
Questions for Matthew?
How do you expect the course to play out on Friday, and what, I guess, do you do to prepare your runners for kind of a wide variety of possible uncontrollable outcomes?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for the most part, historically, as I said, it's been fast. So I think the athletes have to temper their expectations a little bit, just focused on whether that's an all-time PR or a school record. They've got to temper those expectations, not just with the weather, but the differences in the course. Coach Gannon and I were talking earlier today, and we were like, it might be a little slower regardless of the weather. In terms of preparing for adverse conditions, I think that's just got to be on their part from a mindset standpoint. So from us as coaches, we can give them all the information. They can plan accordingly, and so hopefully when they're going through their visualization, they can prepare. But in terms of the actuality, in Nebraska this year, we haven't had a lot of rain, so we haven't had a lot of adverse weather conditions, nor are we going to be able to just make a practice as wet as possible. So some of that is going to be their first time dealing with it, but when we look at those two important races in November, this is a great opportunity for down the road. So to be honest, I'm kind of happy we've got some adverse weather, because if we're facing perfect weather all condition and suddenly we're in Kenosha and there's a foot of snow, how do we deal with that? And that was the reality last time we were at Kenosha. So as blessed as we have been by great weather this season, cross-country weather, back home they have saying proper cross-country. That's going to be proper cross-country this Friday, so we're excited to get after it.
How does the dry ground, the heat brings dry ground, and a little bit of rain, soft, but then muddy conditions, how does that all kind of affect, you talked about adverse conditions, but what are the kind of different stages of that?
Yeah, so we don't know for sure just on how the course is going to handle it, because we haven't seen a whole lot of rain. And so because it is so firm and hard right now, the concern is that it's just going to roll right off, and a couple of those down spots are going to be quite muddy. In an ideal world, it's going to soak in, and that would be perfect. I don't know if that's going to happen. So we're going to do our best to prepare the course. There's going to be a couple of areas that are roped off previously on Thursday, just to make sure that those lower areas are not going to be as used, so hopefully protect the course. But to be honest, it's going to be a big surprise on Thursday. Typically we preview the course as well the day out, but we were actually at the course instead yesterday. Perfect conditions, but what that looks like on Thursday we're not going to see. But we'll be previewing, doing our pre-meet here on campus, just from a logistics. It doesn't make sense for us to put our athletes out there in the cold and rain. So that'll be a little bit different for us, is not getting to see the course a day out than we're typically used to. But we have thankfully seen it this week, and obviously being a home course, we're pretty familiar with the layout of the land.
How do you expect your lineups to shake out this week? Are you just throwing the whole roster out there, or is it going to be something that you kind of manage a little bit as you got to build for what you're preparing for later in the year?
Yeah, this is all systems go. Everyone who's healthy is going to be competing. So for the most part, everyone who's healthy is going to compete. So none of that load management anymore. This is let's see what we've got. Let's get some confidence heading into conference. On the men's side, I would imagine we're going to be led by Big East Runner of the Week, Marcus Gonzalez. Last year, he took a risk. He was leading the race pretty early, and it didn't work out for him. That was a big confidence boost for him to see what he's capable of. So this year, I think him and some of those other guys are going to run a much more patient, controlled race. I would love to see 3 guys in the top 10. I would love to see 5 guys in the top 15. I would love to see our 7 in the top 20. And if we do that, we're going to be really hard to beat. And on the women's side, Danielle, aiming for a top 5 finish. If she can get that going, then that's going to set her up really well for conference and potentially a top 20 finish. So the interesting thing for us and what we're going to be looking out for is not necessarily how that front of the lineup performs, but how does the back of the lineup. So this is going to be the final race for us to make a decision for conference where we're taking 10 and then heading into regionals, what that 7 looks like. And so this race won't be the only thing that factors in. Of course, we're taking everyone's body of work, but certainly if we're factoring in, the most weight is going to be from this week. So who's our 9, 10 going to be? Who are those final roster spots? I think that's exciting. But yeah, for us, running everyone, home course, let's get after it. Let's see and get that confidence going for conference, certainly.
Any more questions?
Ethan's last time out, he set the 8K mark for male freshman. What have you seen as far as the impact that's had on maybe his confidence going forward?
Yeah, those 2 freshman guys, Evan and even Tommy and Blair, those guys have been exactly what we were promised, just legit guys who are all able to contribute. Blair's certainly going to be a guy who down the road we can see impacting, that scoring lineup. But right now, Tommy and Evan are in that. And those guys are just running without fear right now, which I think is awesome. And so I don't think they're necessarily concerned about the times they're running. And if you ask them, they're probably not necessarily content, which is a good place to be. I wouldn't be surprised if that freshman record gets broken again this week, even with the adverse conditions. But that doesn't necessarily mean a lot in the grand scheme. Well, how are they performing at the conference meet, the regional meet? And I think that's going to be exciting for them, that they're running in such a place of confidence. And there is maybe a little bit of, the unknown for them, but that's helping them because they're not putting restrictions on themselves. How fast can I go? How hard can I go? And kind of if we look at how they've raced in their 2 previous races, they've been very aggressive. It might have eaten them up a little bit in the last, but that's great to see that they're running without fear because we don't want them to have any fear heading into the conference race, into the regional race, where we're racing some of the nation's top teams with Oklahoma State in the region's top 3 team, and Villanova and Butler top 10 teams in the country. So if we can run without fear right now, that's going to be great where you run against these guys where obviously we want to respect them, but we want to compete with the very best of them. So we're excited to continue building with them. And I think not just them, but Marcos is Big East Runner of the Week, like huge confidence. Even though that's an individual award, we've taken it as a team award. It's like, this is what we've been building, what we've been working for, and this is going to be another step in that direction to see where they're at and to continue to get that confidence going, which is really key for those cross-country runners.